why everybody is leaving Spotify. I'm not leaving Spotify.
Ton of YouTube videos and articles all with the same messages. Spotify is the worst. On top of this, on Twitter, Reddit, and other social media platforms, I have noticed a bunch of fans saying they are leaving Spotify, and both big artists and bands are also pulling their music from the platform. On the flip side, Spotify has just announced two big changes. The first being the introduction of a much higher quality audio and a search engine for free users, something people have been complaining about and begging for forever. The longtime CEO Daniel Ek has finally stepped down. So it appears to me that Spotify is losing a ton of customers, and to try and keep people happy and keep people on the platform, they're adding features so more people stay. But why is all of this happening? Why do people hate Spotify so much? Well, from controversial military investments to very shady business practices related to fake artists, Spotify has been in hot water for quite some time now. However, it seems they've finally reached a boiling point and people are not happy. And these problems have been going on since Spotify's inception. If you were a music fan in the late 2000s, you had two options. You could buy expensive listening equipment and spend even more money on individual CDs, or you could use piracy software like LimeWire, Napster, and Pirate Bay and listen to every song ever made for free. It was an easy choice, which led to Napster having a peak of 60 million users at the time. Understandably, major labels weren't too happy about this, and they hit back against the piracy websites pretty hard. The RIAA sued 18,000 users in the United States alone, many of which were children, and many of the cases went to court. But it didn't work, and according to one of Spotify's founders, 98% of music consumption on the internet at this point was illegal. But the music industry had another trick up their sleeve, and that was streaming services. There were already streaming companies at this point, some of which had been around since 2001, but the problem was none of them were that good. Press Play, for instance, cost in today's money almost $20 a month, and for that price you would only get 300 streams a month. Not only that, but these services were often slow and clunky with extremely long buffering times, and that's when Daniel Ek comes into play. He was a talented programmer, and he claimed in the past that he founded Spotify because he wanted to save music. But given the fact that Spotify was initially going to host videos and movies too, this seems a little doubtful. In fact, Ek himself seems to have very little interest in music at all. His statements have often gotten him into controversy for this very reason. In 2024, he tweeted that the cost of producing content was close to zero, while earlier he said that you can't record music once every 3 to 4 years and think that's going to be enough. So he's definitely on some evil tech CEO type of vibe. Anyways though, Spotify soon became very successful, and only 2 years after its launch it had 10 million users. Compared to its competitors...
Well, yeah, because if you wanted to make a playlist, if you wanted to make a playlist, it was kind of hard because you had to go out, you had to buy the CDs, and then, I mean, you could burn them, right? Is that what, am I using that term correctly? You could make a CD and then put songs on it, but that takes a long time is what I've heard. So having it on your phone and just clicking add, and you can have a specific playlist for whatever you're feeling, and it's only I don't know how much it was when it first came out, but it's right now it's cheaper than going out and buying vinyls or CDs, and then so I think it's just convenient.
The Spotify experience was seamless. Ek and his partner Martin Lorentzen also had the perfect qualifications. Lorentzen was an expert in advertising, meaning Spotify's name recognition grew rapidly, while Ek's experience was in search engine. Layouts are the main reason why, historically, musicians haven't put their music up on Spotify. The Beatles, for instance, were entirely absent from Spotify for its first 9 years because they feared that it would damage their sales. Jay-Z withdrew his music in 2017 in a failed attempt to start a rival which would compensate artists more fairly. Spotify has always claimed that they can't afford to pay artists more, and that might have been persuasive previously when they were losing tons of money every single year, but last year Spotify had a profit of over $1 billion, most of which evades taxes entirely because the company's headquarters is in Luxembourg, a notorious tax haven. If services like YouTube Music can afford to pay out around twice as much as Spotify per stream, I'm sure they could pay a bit more too.
How many monthly streams would you have to get as an artist in order to earn minimum wage? And this is without any other costs at all. You would have to have 567,000 streams a month in order to make minimum wage. We tried to find someone with exactly 567,000 streams just to show what sort of level of artist you'd have to be, and we found him, and it's Alison Moyet.
Oh my god.
So Alison Moyet, if all she relied on in her life was streams from Spotify, which is how people are listening to most of her music, would make minimum wage.
And Spotify hasn't just been accused of damaging its artists' pockets, but they've also been accused of damaging damaging their music as well. At first, Spotify revolved a lot around its search engine, with Daniel Ek describing it as the Google of music. As Spotify's executives started to realize that most Spotify music was listened to in the background, and as they prepared to launch in the United States, they realized how important playlists would be. Today, around 50% of Spotify listening takes place on these playlists. Now, Spotify's official playlists aren't curated by any individual. Instead, a complex algorithm is used based on tons of data called the Syndicate. At the top are the biggest playlists: Rap Caviar, Viva Latino, Beast Mode. Below are the less popular but still big playlists, such as Most Necessary and Gold School. And at the bottom are the smallest playlists. New tracks are tried out on the smaller playlists. If they have low skip rates and high replay numbers, they graduate to the next level, and so on and so forth. This model does make it so the songs that people want to hear will graduate to the next level, and it gives smaller artists an opportunity to, blow up on these playlists. But it's also very controversial. In theory, every song ever made
what I use for Spotify? When I find a song I really like, actually there's a song that I've been listening to a lot. This artist too. It's called When You're Out by Cough. I found this. I love this guy's music because it's kind of like indie with like electric, like Deftones beat, right? And I love both those genres, so him putting it together was just awesome. That's one of my favorite songs right now. Also, Heart in the Pipes, I really like that one as well. But the way that I find these guys is I find a song I really like, and then I scroll down and they have an option. Let me just show you. I have this song, right? And then I scroll down and I click Explore Lana Del Rey, and then I do like similar to, oh my god, this is so bad. But it's like right here where it's like similar to White Mustang, and I just scroll. It's kind of like TikTok, to be honest, but with music. So it's like it's showing me like similar songs to her, and then I low-key just scroll these until I find one I like. So I don't know what song I was scrolling, but I found this guy, and now he's like my favorite artist. But that's how I find songs. Like, I don't do Smart Shuffle. I don't do that. I don't do DJ. Okay, DJ. If they had an option, I like DJ. Okay. I like him in the sense that like it kind of puts songs that mesh well together. Like, it's cohesive, right? But I just don't like that it talks. Like, if they had an option to turn off DJ that when he talks, I would use DJ. I don't like it when he talks, because I'm like I'm listening to my music and I'm in a flow state and I'm jamming out, and then it's like, who's the next one? Shut up. Stop talking. Why are you talking? You're ruining the moment. Enough. I don't want you to talk. That's why I don't like using DJ. Smart Shuffle is just not that great, so I would rather just, at this point, I just manually cue the songs that I want to listen to. But I like DJ because it plays a song that meshes well with the other song that I just listened to, and it all just flows and it's nice. But I want there to be an option to not have him talk, like to mute him or something. I don't want you to talk. Next up is I don't care. Play the song. Oh my god, please.
On a level playing field. But this isn't actually how it works out in reality. Major labels employ entire teams of people lobbying Spotify to include their artist songs on their playlists. Even worse, this model has also played a major role in dumbing down popular music. Given how important low skip rates are, it's incredibly risky for an artist to include a slow burn intro on their song, because this can completely kill the song's retention. The same way that when I make a video, I try to get like an engaging intro so people stay and watch it, people are going to do that with their music as well. Some slow intros are great, like Pink Floyd, the Diamond song, the Shine On You Crazy Diamond, like part, yeah. Great intro. The fact that Spotify playlists are frequently played in the background means that many artists focus on making their music as anonymous and bland as possible, with nothing offensive.
Oh my god, it's
exciting.
like secondhand screen watching. Oh, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but it genuinely makes me so mad that movies are not movieing anymore. Like, you have to watch. I miss having to watch a movie and not being spoon fed every single. This is my dad. Hey, son. Bro. Why are you doing that? Like, they introduce a character. This is my best friend. We've been best friends for blah, blah. Show me. Show, not tell. Why are you telling it to me? It's because of freaking secondhand screen watchers, okay? Because you're going to be on your phone while you're watching a movie. Okay, I've been guilty of this. I will say I have been guilty of this. But I usually put on a movie that I've seen a million times, like Twilight. I put that on when I fold my laundry. I put that on when I'm like, I don't know. But most of the time I catch myself. I'm like, am I actually watching this movie or am I scrolling? If I'm not watching it, I'm just going to put it away. Okay. But like, why are movies just like, this is the plot so far, guys? Like, can you just not? Like, I want to watch and I want you to show me and I want, like, that's what I want. Okay. Show, not tell. Why are you just telling me? I was in a car accident when I was 5. This is why I'm depressed. Okay, show it to me. I can see. Show it to me. Why are you? I'm not a toddler. Like, I'm following the plot so far. That just sucks. Which is why I really, really, really loved the new movie Iron Lung. Yeah, little tidbit. Love that movie. It was genuinely so good. Like, it was so good in the sense that I was paying attention. Obviously, I went to the movies to see it, so obviously I'm going to pay attention. But, like, I paid attention, and then afterwards I had to look up on Reddit. I was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, it like, near the end, I kid you not, like, near the ending of, I'm not going to spoil it, by the way. No spoilers. But, like, near the end, I literally was, like, at the edge. I'm not kidding. I'm at the edge of my seat. I literally was hunched. I was like, oh, my God. Like, it had me stressing. Like, I actually was so locked into the movie. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I loved everything that they did. I loved the visuals. The acting was so good. The acting was just so amazing. I wasn't expecting that. I don't watch Markiplier, but I heard that he came out with a new movie, Iron Lung, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch it. I mean, it was after work. It was like a 10:30 p.m. movie. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch it. People are saying it's really good. It's like 93 on Rotten Tomatoes or something. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch it, and I'm just going to kind of like, I'm not expecting much. I mean, he's a YouTuber, obviously, but not to say that, like, I just pushed it low, okay? He's not experienced in the acting field, I will say. But his acting was just so good. It blew me away. I was so immersed in the story, which had me stressed. So I was like, hands on the edge of my seat. It's hard to get me to actually, like, be stressed. Like, I cared so much about the movie, and I just wasn't expecting that. Like, top 2 movies. It's my second favorite movie right now. Like, that's genuinely, it was such a good movie. And I mean, it wasn't too fast, it wasn't too slow, it didn't spoon feed me the information. I had to look it up afterwards because I was like, okay, what does this mean? This connects to this. My brain hurt by the end of the movie, which is good because I was trying to piece everything together. I was trying to figure it all out, all this stuff. Like, but that's so good because then I can rewatch it, right? I can rewatch the movie multiple times and I can connect the dots myself and I can kind of like see all this. Oh, I know this now. So when I look at this, it means this other thing. I love that. I just love it. I love it. Okay. It was just so good. I could go on and on about it. Highly recommend. No, I'm not joking either. Like, it was such a good movie. Okay. And it's also kind of sad though, because like it didn't spoon feed me the information, so I'm like, yes, this is what I want. Because I hate watching movies and they're like, this is what's going on. So I know. Definitely, you have to pay attention the entire time. I mean, it's just so good, and I cannot get over, I'm sorry, I keep talking. I just can't get over how there's so many twists and turns and you learn something new with the character, and it's so amazing, and it's everything I want in a movie, just everything, okay? I came in completely blind, did not know anything about the game, I don't really watch Markiplier, like, it genuinely blew me away. It's such a good movie. Highly recommend watching it. At least just watch it. You don't have to buy a movie ticket, just watch it. It's genuinely so good. And if you watch it with your phone, just watch something else, because it's like, even I was paying attention and I was like, what? Like, I literally had to look it up on Reddit. I was like, what does this mean? I don't know what this means. But yeah, I just love that I had to do that afterwards, and my brain hurt so much because I was trying to piece it together. Oh, it's so So good. So good.
Either. The focus isn't on giving people reasons to listen to your music, but avoiding giving them reasons to turn it off. This is a major reason why the pop music of the 2010s often seems so bland and flavorless. And while underpaying artists and simplifying pop music are bad, they're not too surprising. But something that reveals a lot more about the nature of Spotify itself is the fact that you might not even be listening to real artists. By the mid-2010s, Spotify was huge, and it had millions of subscribers listening to billions of songs. But like I mentioned earlier, there was a problem. Spotify was losing a lot of money fast. In 2017 alone, it lost over $1.3 billion.
Dang.
At the same time, it was paying out a ton of money to record labels. So Spotify began to wonder, as more and more of its users were listening purely in the background, why were they paying full price royalties if its users were only half listening? So that's when Spotify decided to pump out tons of tracks by ghost artists. This means that they would pay session musicians on the cheap to pump out hundreds of bland, personality-less songs tailored perfectly to the needs of a specific playlist. As one musician employed this way put it, the goal is to be as milquetoast as possible. Play simply and inoffensively. Individual studio musicians have admitted to cranking out dozens of tracks in a single studio session, giving them all one-word names, and then collecting their check. Spotify also buys the rights for these songs, so even if your track gets tens of millions of plays, you'll be paid the same low flat rate. According to an investigation by the Swedish newspaper News of the Day, only 20 individual musicians are responsible for the work of 500 separate Spotify artists, whose tracks collectively have millions and millions of streams. And Spotify gets really weird, and they start to lie and create stories to make you think that these are real artists. For example, on the Spotify page of an artist called Ekfat, it claims that the music is the work of a classically trained Icelandic beatmaker who graduated from a music conservatory in Reykjavik. I still have no idea how to say that town's name, but it seems cool, so maybe let me know in the comments below. He got his big break when he joined the Lo-Fi Rockers crew in 2017, but this whole description is completely false, and instead this artist's music is the work of 3 completely separate Swedish session musicians. All of this is why if you go on a playlist like Peaceful Piano, most of the songs are by artists who have no pictures, no information online, and no presence outside that specific playlist. And not only are these fake artists taking away playlist spots from potential real artists, they're also taking away money because of that revenue pool we were talking about earlier. By 2023, over 100 official Spotify playlists were composed entirely of fake songs. This includes some of the biggest playlists on the entire platform, which even you might be listening.
No, I gotta see. I have a playlist that I created myself, but I want to know if these are from an actual real thing. I thought this wasn't real. It's Wicked Cinema. I like their music. I think it's fine. I mean, Google AI said it's fine, so that's fine.
Too. Deep Focus, for instance, with almost 5 million saves, is more than 90% made up of fake songs. And yet, if you ask Spotify about any of this, they are going to deny it. So clearly, Spotify has been up to some shady, crazy, weird business for a long time. But when generative AI started blowing up earlier this decade, that's when things started getting really bad. Paying session musicians to create fake songs and fake artists is definitely shady, but at least it still puts money in the pockets of musicians. Since the rise of generative AI, though, that is not the case anymore. Deshaun Williams is an artist on Spotify who makes trap-inspired meme rap music with titles like Seuss Gone Savage and Mama Ain't Raised No Bitch. Despite releasing his first song in April of this year, he has gone on to release 127 more, amassing 324,000 monthly listeners, with numerous tracks over 1 million plays. And yet, if you couldn't tell from the incredibly ugly covers, or the fact that several of his songs sound nothing like each other, Deshaun Williams doesn't actually exist. Instead, everything about him, the instrumentals, the lyrics, and the album covers and song titles have been generated by AI. But Deshaun Williams is far from the only one. There are literally thousands of other artists just like him. For example, Tennessee Reaper, Georgia Phantom, and most infamously of them all, The Velvet Sundown, who at one point had 500,000 monthly listeners and became a very huge topic that I actually covered a few months ago. I was actually doing some research on Spotify when autoplay kicked in and played this band called Lost in Blues, and if you look at this screenshot from my Twitter, it looks like they're completely AI. There's no information about them, they have no social media, and the music sounded very bland, so I figured this had to have been an AI band. But if I was just listening mindlessly, I would have never thought or realized that this was an AI band. There are tons of testimonies out there of people suddenly realizing that some of their most listened to artists aren't real artists at all. Now, there isn't any evidence to say that Spotify themselves are behind these artists, but given their history, it's not too hard to imagine.
Oh my god, there's this one song my friend showed me. It's so good. Bro, did you know that you can search a song in your playlist? No one told me this. Why did no one tell me this? I literally figured it out myself because I was like, oh, I remember this song, but I don't know. And I was scrolling, and then I scrolled all the way up, and then it like popped up where it said like find music or whatever. I was like, what is this? Oh, why did no one tell me this? Penny Out of Nothing by Lola Young. Favorite song also. So good. So good.
At the very least, they've been open about the fact that they plan to do precisely nothing about it. Well, scratch that. Since writing this video, Spotify said that they're going to try to crack down on AI music a little bit more, likely because of all the backlash they've had about it lately. But them cracking down on things hasn't always gone too well. For example, Spotify made a big effort to get rid of bots. One evening, an artist named Flashbulb, who's been making music for decades, was surprised to find out that his entire discography had been removed from Spotify.
When I discovered that my music was taken down, I immediately reached out to TuneCore. I didn't get any recourse or communication until I had already not only contacted the CEO of TuneCore and had colleagues of mine also contacting her and driving her crazy, but the parent company of TuneCore finally poked and said, hey, are you going to deal with this or not? I would have had a different distributor distribute my music to DSPs, but come to find out, there's not really a great one currently.
The reason was because he was accused of using botted streams, but he actually had done nothing like that.
Oh my
So
God.
Spotify kind of pulls numbers out of the air and says, hey, we think that this person is using a botted
Bots,
playlist,
yeah.
or we think that this person is committing streaming fraud in some way. And then when I finally did get a response from somebody who made that decision, they claimed that they had evidence that they wouldn't show me the evidence, but they claimed that they had evidence that I was committing streaming fraud.
Instead, somebody looking to create a quick buck had created a playlist composed of AI songs and had bots listen to each track thousands of times in order to get a share of Spotify's revenue pool. But to make the playlist look legit, they had also been sure to add a few legitimate artists. Spotify, like I said, has been trying to clamp down on this stuff, but they kind of just disregarded the actual fake songs and got everybody in the playlist. What this could mean is that if you really hate a specific artist, there's nothing to stop you from creating a playlist of AI songs, adding some of their music too, botting it massively, and then sit back and watch as the artist gets their entire discography taken down.
Evil.
Obviously, don't do this. That's wrong and it's very illegal, but that is like possible, which is crazy. And not only can you take artist music down, but you can also put it up. Earlier this year, Emily Portman received a message from a fan congratulating her on her new album. The problem was she hadn't actually released one. Instead, an album entirely generated by AI, designed to sound as much like her as possible, had been uploaded on her Spotify page without her knowledge. And this is far from the only example of this happening. And it's actually really easy to do.
Using my handy dandy brand new account, I decided to see if I could upload music to my profile as me. I was a little worried I would have to find my Spotify URI by copying the super secure code after the part of the artist URL of Spotify, but it was actually automatically there for me. Every album needs good artwork though, and once again I poured my absolute heart and soul into something truly, absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
With that out of the way, why not add just one more step to see if there's any reason that this can be stopped? Now we just have to fill out the correct information for who wrote the song. We scroll down to the bottom, pass a couple more upsell opportunities, and then check the right boxes to make sure everything is totally 100% legit.
Yeah,
and we're off to the races. We get the fun little check mark, and now we wait. And just like that, there it was.
Now, when this happens to a major artist, it isn't too damaging, as they can use their resources to get it taken down pretty quick. But that's just not the case for independent artists. Not only can it take weeks or even months to get it removed, but for a small artist who has spent years building up a small fan base, one bad release could be enough to get their fans to tune out. However, none of these controversies are the reason for the recent exodus of Spotify, because this next one might be one of the worst. Spotify's founders have never bothered hiding their political views, or the fact that they tend to be fairly right-wing. Eck and
Aye.
Lorentzen have both
Aye,
called
aye.
for lower taxes and less regulation. Lorentzen has even worked directly with the Moderate Party, Swedish politics' primary right-wing force. But none of this has ever really caused much pushback until recently. In 2021, Daniel Eck invested 100 million euros into Helsing, a weapons company that specializes in drones and AI-driven warfare. And it just sounds kind of like an evil company that you'd see in a sci-fi movie. While Helsing's founders have promised to only sell weapons to democracies, that includes at least one country which is
That
pretty
looks ugly.
controversial.
That looks like a
The one
blimp.
and only Jewish state and the only democracy in the Middle East.
Earlier this year, however, Eck went even further, not only investing an extra $1 billion,
Damn.
but also becoming chairman of the company, and people
Ooh.
were not happy. But people's actions weren't only limited to complaining. In June, Deerhoof, a rock band that's pretty big in the experimental scene, withdrew their music from Spotify. Juju or Gigi, I don't know how I'm supposed to say that, but they also pulled their music too. And just recently, the biggest band so far announced they would be following. Massive Attack, a group with 8 million monthly listeners. In the case of Spotify, the economic burden that has long been placed on artists is now compounded by a moral and ethical burden, whereby the hard-earned money of fans and the creative endeavors of musicians ultimately fund lethal, dystopian technologies. Enough is more than enough. So far, none of these artists have been big enough to pose a threat to Spotify, but when in 2021, Neil Young and Patti Smith withdrew their music from Spotify in response to Spotify's deal with Joe Rogan, Spotify quickly responded by adding disclaimers about COVID-19 misinformation to relevant podcasts. However, considering how much money they have wrapped up in this new Helsing deal, and the fact that Daniel Eck is now the chairman, it would be surprising if they back down this time around, unless a ton of major artists pulled their stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless, all of these issues have a common thread. Spotify will do anything to make money. Of course, it makes sense. They're a business, and that's what businesses do. That's the purpose of them. But what makes Spotify unique is how they're happy to sacrifice their relationships with musicians,
Yeah.
listeners, and the wider public
Just
just for
for-
a few extra
yeah,
bucks.
few
Probably the best
dollars.
example of this is Spotify Wrapped. In 2019,
Aye, aye, aye.
an intern at the company called Jewel Ham came up with a detailed series of plans designed to make the feature more exciting. When the company implemented these exact changes in 2020, she was not only given none of the credit, but none of the
What?
revenue generated from it either. Only a little bit
What?
of their profit could have set her up for life, so it's just kind of crazy how they operate. These last few years have not been good for Spotify. While the company's user base has been growing, it's been losing market share, with a bunch of new competitors like
Yeah,
Amazon and
Amazon.
YouTube Music. And with Apple stepping up their
Pandora,
game,
Apple.
they can no longer take their place at the top of the music streaming
Yeah.
game for granted. And of course, on top of this, their public image has been completely eviscerated, which is why I think they're making all of these changes and improvements. With all of the massive backlash they've gotten lately, they want to try to save face and keep up with their competitors. Clearly, it's working to some extent, with people being very excited about the new feature to mix your playlists. But if things
Ooh.
continue the way they have been, I can see a future where other streaming services swiftly overtake the once dominant Spotify.
Yeah.
If you like this video, you might like my video about Jay-Z's Spotify competitor Tidal, which definitely failed at first, but honestly, with how Spotify is going, I can see it making a comeback. And this isn't an ad, but maybe you guys would end up liking it more than Spotify if you want to retaliate against them. So make sure to check the video out that's on screen right now. Other than that, it's been your boy Matty Balls. Make sure to like and even subscribe.
W video. I still find it crazy that they only pay not even a cent to the artists for their streams. That's crazy.